like a 7-8 inch crankbait. Bass aren't the only fish that like them. Can be really good for muskies too. Got them hooked nice. Just that back trouble. It'll be a nice easy release. Kyle's running, he's still running a minnow off the back, and I just wanted to switch it up a little bit and cast. There we go. Pretty little fish, huh? Kind of backlit, but anyways, yeah, Kyle was just running minnows off the back, and I decided to pick up a little crankbait and caught me a little musky. They smell good. Man, they're pretty. We like to be pretty quick on handling these muskies just because they are, for as mean and big as they are, they can be a really delicate fish. So you really want to make quick work of your handling and get them back. But a little bonus fish, I'll take it. And take a look at this lure here. This is actually a Williamson crankbait with the Speed Pro. So this is a saltwater bait. But for whatever reason in this lake, they like this little blue chrome color. And that's it. I'm just fishing it with 60, this is 60-pound braid, and then and a swim bait rod with a 300 size reel. So makes for a nice lightweight, fun musky combination for just, you know, casting. I mentioned I'm fishing 65-pound braid, but you'll see here I have a nice little leader. This is a Spro leader, 60-pound fluorocarbon to some good hardware here. Ball bearing swivel and a heavy-duty snap at the other end. But this is considered a pretty finesse musky rig here. Clear water, I think that fluorocarbon can help a smaller diameter braid, cuts the water better, gets that crankbait down to depth. And this is a rig that you can comfortably cast all day long. Classic spot, if you look at my sonar right now, I have the boat in 12 feet, depth highlight set to 10. There's another one. You get a wolf pack on these spots, man. If there's one, there's usually more. Look at that one, a little bit nicer, huh? Sweet, huh? About the same size, just a carbon copy. Woo! Back-to-back muskies. It's a clear water lake, and you can see from these fish that the colors are just vibrant. They're just beautiful green and silver. I might be able to grab this guy over the back. If I can keep him, I prefer to keep him out of the net if I can. Ooh. Just skin hooked them, you know, which no different than bass fishing too, is really sharp light wire trebles tend to catch, you know, catch skin. If you go easy on them and don't tear the hooks out, you'll catch fish that you might have otherwise lost. But, you know, look at the colors on that fish. Talk about beautiful in the evening like this. There you go, girl. I like back-to-back muskies. That doesn't happen a whole lot. Those weren't great big ones, but they're pretty and I enjoy catching them. Got that first bite, I hit spot lock, pinned the boat in position, fought that fish, unhooked it, made the same cast again, and got another muskie. You know, these aren't schooling fish, but if there's fish on a spot, or if there's bait fish, you'll oftentimes have several fish on the same spot just because the feeding opportunity is good. And before I was rudely interrupted by that second fish, you can take a look at my cartography here. I have 10 feet marking the top of this little hump, and this is a great big main lake point. And I have my green depth highlight kind of extending that, I think it's about 12 to 20 feet of water, just kind of painting the top of that bar. And that's just a great pocket, you know, where tulipy and whitefish are coming up right now, and those muskies can kind of corral them up in here. No different than how bass, you know, feed along ledges, steep bluff walls. It's the same concept up north for muskies. And that's the cool thing. There's such a great parallel between, you know, muskie fishing and bass fishing. You got a wide array of plugs from top waters to bottom baits. You can catch them casting. We oftentimes troll for muskies as well and fish live bait. You know, and one other thing when you're fishing big crankbaits for muskies, especially casting, is to just be erratic with that bait. Almost treat it like you would a jerk bait. Sure, you can straight crank it and catch some fish, but you know, muskie and pike definitely can be triggered by working that bait erratically, making it look like it's wounded and darting around and something different from the pack. You know, for muskies, it's a lot more enjoyable to fish a low profile reel, just like bass fishing. You're casting all day long, you're actively working the bait. A 300 size palm's really nice. This is a Dio Alexa HD. It's got the stainless steel gears. These cranking handles are really a plus with big baits. You can just kind of wrap your thumb, your index finger, and your middle finger around that ball. And what you'll find fishing big lures, working those big lures, and then on the hook sets, is your hand tends to fall off that reel a lot less often. A typical bass reel that doesn't have a big cranking diameter and just little knobs, you'll always find that you're kind of fumbling around. So the trend in musky fishing has been toward big cranking handles, which, you know, we've seen in bass fishing too. Feels like your pickup's a little better, you feel more in control of the rod and the big lure, and especially when you hook up. But it's just like crankbait fishing for largemouth or smallmouth. Your rod just loads. This is actually a Megabass Orochi XX swim bait rod. It's their 7'11", but it has a nice parabolic bend throughout, just like you would expect with any good cranking rod. The only difference here being it's a pretty supersized crankbait, but it works perfect for this because, again, it has that parabolic bend and plenty of power to drive the hooks home and also fight the fish.